Hello, dear students. Hope you all are doing very well. Today is 28th of May 2020 and lockdown 4 period is going to be end on 31st of this May. But maybe after that also there is possibility that again we have to stay for a little bit more time at our home because coronavirus or COVID-19 is still widening the scope in the Indian continent, basically in the rural areas, and also mortality is rising. So we have to cautious, and again we have to in touch with our study materials and something more than the study materials beyond the syllabus based, because nowadays whole academic scenario has been changed and you have to think, learn, correlate your whole the syllabus with this COVID-19 impact. So today I will try to focus on agricultural issues for the all common students of economics, whether PG students or UG students, that whether agriculture is a savior of Indian economy in COVID era. So let's debate and let's talk something about the agriculture issues, okay? Because it is the most important issue for Indian economy, basically in the COVID era, because agriculture is going to save the Indian economy in the coming periods. So we all know that the world is sliding rapidly towards a recession, and the COVID-19 pandemic will shut down large parts of world's economy for at least a few months more. And what IMF managing director Kristalina Georgieva stated on March 23, 2020, that the outlook for global growth in 2020 was negative. Recovery, if any, is only expected in 2021. So, according to the International Labour Organization also, the rise in unemployment because of COVID-19 could be up to 25 million worldwide and more than, because this estimation was earlier. Now estimation is rising. So overall, when we look before on the issue of agriculture, let's talk of basic resources and also on the topic of population. With the population of nearly 1.30 billion, India is the world's second most populous country. We all know this. China is till date above than us, but very soon we will oversee the China. It is the seventh largest. India is the seventh largest country in the world with an area of 3.288 million square kilometer. And it has a long coastline over 7,500 kilometers geographical area. And India is a diverse country where over 22 major languages and 415 dialects are spoken. With the highest mountain range in the world, the Himalayan to its north, the Thar Desert to its west, the Gangetic Delta to its east, and the Deccan Plateau in the south. The country is home to vast agroecological diversity. So this is our geographical resources or our wealth to be well taken in the near future. And also India is the world's largest producer of milk, pulse and jute, and ranks as the second largest producer of rice, wheat, sugarcane, groundnut, vegetables, fruits and cotton. And then when we move forward, it is also one of the leading producer of spices, fish, poultry, livestock and plantation crops. Worth of 2.1 trillion US dollar. India is the world's third largest economy after the US and China. So, India's climate varies from humid and dry tropical in the south to temperature alpine in the northern reaches and has a great diversity of ecosystems. Okay, so 4 out of the 34 global biodiversity hotspots and 15 WWF global 200 ecoregions fall fully or partly within India, and having only 2.4% of the world's land area, India harbors around 8% of all recorded species, including over 45,000 plant and 91,000 animal species. So, in the era of COVID-19, when we are dealing with the agriculture issues, we have to see the strength of our population as well as diversity of our population and of our geographical area and agriculture resources. We all know that since birth, since childhood, in 80s and 90s, and even many children in early 20s, they all grew up reading. We all grew up reading that one sentence in a school textbook or also in college textbook, until LPG policy came, that is liberalization, privatization, globalization, that changed the Indian economy. And what we all used to read, that India is an agricultural country. Still we are in the phase of this reading and these sentences. So services became the king of economy and industries started pulling out workers from the fields later on. And the outbreak of this novel coronavirus, that is COVID-19 in India as part of global pandemic, shut down offices of the gloating services sectors and closed factories. But crops standing in fields kept growing and farmers continue to tend them. Just imagine, when every economy is locked down, agriculture is standing in the field. So this is called as a savior of the economy. And COVID-19 has essentially and largely remained an urban outbreak in India till date. Of course, after breaking some lockdown rules, somebody is moving towards, migrants, laborers moving towards rural areas. The danger is to expand their of coronavirus disease, but still it seems as a urban problem. So what is agriculture? So agriculture, what is allied sector, is the largest source of livelihoods in India, we all know. And 70% of its rural households still depend primarily on agricultural, their livelihood, with 82% of farmers being small and marginal. And this is the key problem of the migrant laborers, why they push from the rural areas. In 2017-18, because I am not latest data, total food grain production was estimated at 275 million tons, and still it is growing. And India is the largest producer, that is 25% of the global production consumer and 27% of world consumption, and importer of 14% of pulses in the world. So this is a greater opportunity for India in this era, how to focus on agriculture issues. And India's annual milk production was 165 million metric ton in 2017-18, making India the largest producer of milk, jute and pulses, and with world's second largest cattle population, around 190 million in 2012. It may be more than today's data. So these all are the facts that why we are talking of agriculture in this COVID era and why should focus on agriculture, because we have to save our economy from this pandemic. So while agriculture in India has achieved grain self-sufficiency, but the production is resource intensive, cereal centric, and regionally biased. And the resource intensive ways of Indian agriculture has raised serious sustainability issues too. And increasing stress on water resources of country would definitely need a realignment and rethinking of the policies. And desertification and land degradation also pose major threats to agriculture in the country. And so India's arable land area of 159.7 million hectares is the second largest in the world after United States, as earlier I told you. And its gross irrigated crop area of 82.6 million hectares is the largest in the world. Just imagine. And the agricultural land, that is percentage of land area in India, was reported at 60.45% in 2016, according to the World Bank Collaboration of Development Indicators, compiled from officially recognized some sources. So, this is the core thrust of the importance of agriculture in India, especially in the COVID era. There is little bit gap regarding the total operated new areas and discussion of a small and marginal farmers. For the first time, there is a data on the number of members who are engaged in the farming apart from the main operator of the given operational holding. And at all India level, around 60% of operational holdings have 1 to 2 members engaged with the main operator. So data shows this. This is a gap between big farmers and marginal farmers. And in 17%, there is a nobody working within the main operator. While in 24% of operational holdings, 3 or more than 3 people work. So given the fact that the average size of operational holdings is less than a hectare, it presents a worrisome picture. Moreover, the number varies drastically among various states. The percentage of households with more than 3 members working is just 7% in Kerala and more than 43% in Jammu and Kashmir, our newly formed state after 370. So this is all facts where we have to shift the Indian economy to focus on agriculture economy, because we all used to say in our childhood and in our rural areas and in our religious books and in our Purana and Veda that Uttam Krishi, Madhyam Vyapar and Kanistha Naukari. It is supreme is farming always, mediocre is trade, and most lowly is service. So we are in a most level of the this hierarchy of the work. And in COVID-19, this has been proved. Then still, Krishi is a Uttam component of the economy. Okay, and in Gandhi's words are still true that India lives in villages. Still, we lives in villages because more than 64% persons have is dependent on agriculture even into 2020. And because agriculture is still a primary source of livelihood for about 58 to 60% of India's whole population. And the contribution of agriculture and allied sector is 17.1% in GDP. And in comparison with industry sector 29.6% and service sector is 54.3%. So this is contribution of agriculture in GDP. And we could also evaluate and we can also analyze state-wise agriculture situation, because agriculture is a state subject. And COVID-19 give us a lesson that we should fight for any pandemic-like situation with one nation policy. Okay, so these are all the contribution. Earlier I told you about and there are many theories also regarding the agriculture issues. I will not go to that theories because that is a part of agriculture economics. I am not dealing with agriculture economics. I am dealing with you simple things that why we should focus on agriculture during the COVID-19 era. Okay, what is the situation of marginal farmers in India? Truth to be held that 78% of farmers are marginal and small. They own below 5 acres, which accounts for 33% of agricultural land but produces 41% of food. So just see the paradox. Marginal farmers who own less than 2.5 acres eat when they produce. Okay? And economics of scale militate against even small farmers being worthwhile for cultivation, especially if there is no assured source of irrigation, the quality of the land is poor, or if it in the floodplains. This is not say that small can never be as productive as large. It can, but only with lots of love, care, money and technical expertise. And in the COVID era, these all elements we have to throw everything on the agriculture. What is that? Love, care, money and technical expertise. When we are talking of vocal for local and we are moving towards rural economy, we have to make a very concrete plan for the agriculture sector with love, care, money and technical expertise. However, the net cash returns even as productive of 2.5 tons of feed per 2.5 acres at MSP of very little amount. So we have to think more about the minimum support price for the farmers. Okay, lots of problems they are facing, and we have passed the food security bill in our Indian Indian Parliament. So India's production of food grains has been increasing every year, and India is among the top producers of several crops such as wheat, rice, pulses, sugar and cotton. We know it is the highest producer of milk. We also know it is also accounted for the 25% of total quantity of corn produce. This also we know. So regarding food security, we are safe in Indian continent. But how we should transform agriculture as exporter or major components for Indian economy and more GDP contribution? This is the major question which we have to deal with nowadays. When we think of the productivity, there is a low agriculture productivity in India. Key issues affecting agriculture productivity include the decreasing size of agricultural land holdings. Earlier I told you, continued dependence on the monsoon, inadequate access to irrigation, imbalanced use of soil nutrients resulting in loss of fertility of soil, uneven access to modern technology in different parts of the country, lack of access to farmer agricultural credit, limited procurement of food grains by government agencies, and failure to provide remunerative prices to farmers. This was the major reason why agriculture is lacking sort of the many development process. And thank God in this package, COVID-19 package, Indian government announced the package. There are lots announced for the farmers and for the benefit of agriculture. And there is also a ray of hope for agriculture reform also. Governments flourish the way of credit to the farmers, e-marketing, and even PPP model will introduce in agriculture also. There are a lot of hope, but let us see how they will implement. Okay, because some of the recommendation made by the committees earlier, bringing agriculture land leasing laws, shifting to micro irrigation techniques to improve efficiency of water use, improving access to quality seeds by engaging with the private sector, and introducing a national agriculture market to allow the trading of agriculture produce online. Earlier, every experts have been recommended, and COVID-19 gave us opportunity, and government is forced to announced these all measurements in the era of pandemic only. So this is good for agriculture. We have to think positively that maybe in coming days, coming years, agriculture will get priority area in the Indian economy. And the Ajivika Bureau is a very important institution. Estimates that 120 million people migrates from rural to urban space. And this is the COVID-19 is the era of migrants labor problems. And the biggest employees are construction sector, that is 40 million, domestic work 20 million, textile 11 million, brick kiln 10 million, and others like mining, transportation, and agriculture. And this population constitutes approximately 11% of the India's population, and all the population belongs to agriculture belt. So this is also a very keen problem which we have to observe in this COVID era. So when Prime Minister Modi calls Atmanirbharta or Atmanirbharta Abhiyan announced for the economic package, earlier that was called by the Gandhi as Swaraj, and Tagore as a completeness, and Vivekanand calls it as a self-reliant, and so called postmodern thinker may called it alternative to development. So here I'm going to stop this topic, that agriculture should be the alternatives to development in the coming years. This COVID-19 forced to think on this issue. So thank you, dear students. Later on I will deliver one more lecture on this issue, but till now